Operation Domination is underway. The ultimate game plan to dominate your NFL experience. With your hosts, Dan
you gotta be confident about your Achilles when you show
Thornton.
Yeah, I mean, I got him.
Chris Dowhouse.
Hearing about him for pointless and fantasy in the sense.
And Adam LaRue. Don't hope to win. Be great and dominate.
All right, so let's get into the Davante Adams of it all with the Rams here. So he signs a 2-year contract. Cooper Kupp was officially, again, recording this on a Wednesday, officially released today on Wednesday. So he's finally gone. Davante Adams walks in and he's the replacement for him. So we know they have Stafford. We know they have Puka Nacua. We know Davante Adams comes in, and I'm not saying he's going to take the same role as a Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua is going to take Cooper Kupp's role. I think ultimately they'll be interchangeable as far as that goes. I think more what you're looking at is Adam comes in, Puka's still the guy, and Adam comes in and takes over the Cooper Kupp target share of at least 24%. That would be my estimation, just rough projections this early on into the process, with Puka still getting a wide receiver 1 level usage, again, 28 plus, 30 plus percent of the targets moving into this thing. I guess right now let's stick with the basics of Davante Adams. With this offense, and again, like I said, last year, points per game basis, finishes top 10 wide receiver with Aaron Rodgers. Is that on the table with the Rams this season at 32? Case.
Oh, I don't know, because he had a ton of targets last season as well. I don't know. We haven't seen the Rams actually. We think of the Rams as having, they've had 2 number 1 type wide receivers for the last couple of years. They haven't really been able to ever really support 2 number 1 type guys. They have 2 number 1 type players right now with Adams and with Puka Nacua. I'm not necessarily sure that they're going to your point about target share, I'm not sure that Adams sees enough of the target share to really reach what his fantasy and real life potential really is still at this point in his career. I like Puka Nacua. I think Puka Nacua, I'll probably have him as I will still have him as a top 8 type overall play next year at wide receiver. Adams is a wide receiver 2 for me, and he's pretty solidly a wide receiver 2. And that's if he takes over, like you said, the exact target share that they were giving to Cooper Kupp. I don't necessarily know that this hurts Puka so much, but I don't think that we're going to see Davante Adams be able to reach his absolute ceiling in this offense, because I just don't think that it's going to be there. They still have Kyron Williams that they want to try and feed. They still have Puka there. Matthew Stafford's another year older. So, I like the fit. I like the football fit. I really do. But I'm not necessarily sure that I'm as hopped up on Adams as maybe some other people are.
Yeah, I mean, I think wide receiver 2 is a good value for him. Chris, how do you see this breaking down?
This reminds me a lot about the Detroit when Matthew Stafford was playing with them, and you had Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. There's different talent, skill set in a sense. Kenny Golladay is, the Puka Nacua. The Puka is definitely better, of course, and Marvin Jones kind of doing that Adams role. Of course, Adams is better still. But what I think I'm getting at is you're going to see one of the guys kind of be the all-around guy. You're talking about Puka. I think he'll be the featured part of the offense. But I think what you're going to see is Davante be definitely involved in the red zone, a guy that can get you close to 8 to 10 touchdowns. The problem I have, Dan, is I don't know if kind of what Chase is building was talking about, are they willing to feature a receiver 2 in this offense anymore? Because it seems like it's been forever and years where, yes, the numbers wound up kind of panning out that way, but it's usually streaks. Puka's rookie year was kind of, it was when Cooper Kupp got hurt, then Puka jumps in, and then vice versa. And then when Kupp comes back in, Kupp kind of takes it back over, and Puka's good, but not quite as good. And then all of a sudden, Kupp gets banged up again. Here's back on Puka.
I will say to that point, I don't think that's really any different than any team that has 2 alpha level wide receivers. I mean, we look at AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, they're both streaky back and forth with who's doing well. A lot of it can be based on injury or whose game it was that particular week. I mean, I think we look at a lot of that.
They're both the target shares though, Dan, because I go with Puka like the 15 to 20 targets. Kupp gets 15, 20 targets. Those games are the huge one that boost those numbers, the end of the season numbers so much. If you're going to get 5 or 6 targets, it's a lot different than getting 20 targets in week or 2 weeks in a row. I get 40 targets. That's where I get really interested to see kind of how this unfolds, because we haven't seen that really been the case. Stafford likes to lock on a guy; he's going to throw it to him. We haven't seen McVay be very creative. We saw Allen Robinson die basically as that second receiver, never get utilized. We watched last year where they signed Robinson. They had Tutu Atwell. They re-signed Tutu again for what? How involved were they in the offenses? And at the end of last year, we basically saw Cooper Kupp must have had, pissed Matthew Stafford off or Sean McVay or somebody off, because he didn't get the ball through the entire, last couple of games. So that's where I'm really curious about Davante's overall value, because I like it, as Chase talked about. I haven't seen it for a while in LA.
And I worry that everybody's going to be so excited about this idea that Davante Adams is going there, that what you're going to have to spend in drafts to get him is going to be way more than what I feel like I want to pay, because he's going to be a wide receiver too. I don't want to pay. I'm not going to want to pay what I anticipate the price is going to be to get Davante Adams on my team. If you want to be a number one receiver in half-point PPR, you have to score, round numbers, you have to score 200 points. And in 16-ish games, which is what they all basically average out to, I know the season's 17, but the fantasy season is 16, you have to average 12.5 points a game, half PPR. Half PPR, that means you've got to be catching 7-8 balls a game, and you've got to be averaging about 80 yards a game and then getting your touchdowns on top of that. Is that possible with Puka Nacua across the field from you? And Puka's the guy who already knows Stafford. Stafford's the guy who already knows Puka. They've been in that offense now for 2 years. Davante's the new guy coming in who has to learn and create that kind of chemistry with them. I'm much more willing to be in on Puka this season than I am on Davante.
Well, of course. I mean, like I said, Puka doesn't change as far as him being a wide receiver.
Even at cost, but I'm talking about even at cost though too. I'm probably much more likely to have Puka on my teams than I am to have Davante on my teams.
I like the upside of Adams, Dan, and I was going Adam to jump in here, but I think Adams could, was kind of going on the downside of his career. Of all the matchup opportunities for him, whether it was, it could be Kansas City, maybe a better fit, but he hasn't had a good quarterback throwing him the ball in a while. And I think this could make up for some of the steps he's lost for the last couple of years. Because as we saw last year, he can still be a monster if he gets targets, and Stafford's one of those guys who can throw it to a spot hard.
Well, I think Chris, to your earlier point, the red zone. I think that's going to be the key, the red zone. Puka hasn't been that. I thought he had a chance without Cooper Kupp being there. Davante Adams comes in. I think Davante Adams will have more end zone targets, let's say, than Puka Nacua does. But I think ultimately this is a wide receiver 2 situation. Adams still, he's still good. I'm not trying to get this twisted, but he did look like he lost a little bit of a step there. Not quite the same player. Wouldn't have him in the top 12. But there was plenty of games last year. No, they weren't getting 15 targets when both were on the field, but there was plenty of games last year where Puka was getting 9, Cooper Kupp was still getting 8. I still think you can feature these 2 receivers at a good rate. Adam, get in here, man.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Rams became one of the teams that I'm most curious about when we get to the draft cycle, and here's why. The Poona Ford one, going along with this, and I know that's an off-the-wall one to talk about on this show, but what it allowed them to do, that's filling a hole. Getting Davante filled a hole. Like, I'm really excited for the possibility of them hammering the offensive line in this draft, and if that's the case, and if you hit, then I'm all in. Like, if too much faith, if you, no, I said if it gives you the opportunity to, and I said if, but if the stars align, and this is a class where there's a lot of tackles that are going to fall down people's boards because people want to move all these tackles to guards, okay? Boy, they could strike it rich. They drafted their butts off last year. Like, that was a fantastic draft. You followed it up with another fantastic draft, this time on the offensive line. Again, there's no guarantee any of this happens, but they have the opportunity. Like, if you give this Rams team an average to above average offensive line paired with their offensive weapons, like, the sky is genuinely the limit. And that is an offense that can have both Davante Adams and Puka Nacua, be successful. So I'm just throwing it out there that there's no guarantee, They just let Jonah Jackson leave, or traded him rather, and they bring one of their guys back, which isn't always the best because their guys weren't that good.
Alec Jackson.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
That re-sign again, it's not super promising, but just to say that the
It's
stars
like
could
Jeff
align.
Noteboom, Bryce Allen. Go down the list.
I'm
Rams do
just
this
saying
all the
this
time.
this is a watch list team for me in the sense that you get two of these
Totally
offensive
agree.
linemen
I'm
that are
sorry.
going to fall
Totally.
down the list. Suddenly, the narrative around the ability to have both these wide receivers be successful changes for me, because I think part of the reason they couldn't have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both coexist is because you have so much of your resources are going to just keeping Stafford upright.
Well, and you talk about, Stafford, who used to throw the ball down the field, really hasn't been able to for
Exactly.
the
You take two steps and he's already under pressure. So the fact that you're one remaining hole on defense, you filled Cooper Kupp's shoes immediately. What's left? Why would you not be going all in the offensive line? And teams do dumb stuff, so I'm not saying that they will, but why would you be doing anything else this draft? And one of the three positions that are acceptable right now, in this draft.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, to the earlier Stafford point there, Chris, you mentioned how Aaron Rodgers wasn't throwing down the field anymore. He was 6.7, air yards yards per target. Excuse me. Stafford's only 7.3, so it wasn't a big difference. Adam, to your point, a lot of that being reflected in the offensive line. It could fix a lot of things, and yeah, I'm with you. The Rams offense has a upside of a Cincinnati Bengal type of offense here that we kind of saw over the past year when both T. Higgins and them are on the field. I mean, Puka Nacua can do a lot of those things. So it's definitely interesting, and this is why we love talking off season, because of all the possibilities if teams start to kind of draft a certain way. Hey there, I want to thank you for watching Operation Domination today. And if you're enjoying the show, there are some ways you can help support us. You can go to podchaser.com/Operation Domination and leave us a 5-star review. And you can do this on any podcast platform or on our YouTube page when you go to @FF Advice Network. This completely helps out the show be able to grow, and also leave us comments to let us know how we can curtail the show to you, because you are the most important member of the show. So again, go to podchaser.com/Operation Domination to leave a 5-star review and leave a comment wherever you listen or watch the show, and we'll help better serve you.